I'll be waking up with you on my chest. I had a pounding heart and aching head and no regret. Who knows, we might go down in flames. Then again, I might just change your name. Could it be I'm finally holding what I've been hoping for? Could it be the end, or just friends, and start something more?
So I joined King Billy straight out of college. I actually moved from Boston, where I was going to school at Berkeley, a semester early, and I did my last semester at Berkeley long distance. The college was cool to let me do that, and I moved early to join this band, and I turned 21 the week I moved to Nashville. And growing up an only child, it was sort of like having all the big brothers I never had. And so I spent 3 years with those guys, and we did all the things that I've done all over again in the last 3 years, seeing the entire country from a passenger van and playing to crowds from 4 people to 4,000, depending on the night, you know. And I think the biggest transition and the biggest difference, I learned so much when I was in King Billy, and you know, part of learning is making mistakes, and I learned and I made those mistakes, and I grew in a way that the weight didn't entirely fall on my shoulders. And now it's a little bit more on me to do the work and to do the job. Not to say the people that are in my band with me aren't extremely hardworking and everything, because they are. But it's a little more pressure, and I'm really grateful for having had that first run with the shared pressure.
Are you feeling more pressure in respect that people are relying on you for a career?
You know, the decisions, a lot of decisions have to get made, and I have a great team that helps me make those decisions. But when it comes down to me making a final decision, you know, I don't have a fellow person who's on the poster with me, you know. But I love it. I love the creative freedom and, you know, and the challenge. There's such a cool challenge every night playing for an audience, seeing how you can squeeze every bit of energy out of them and out of yourself to get the best show possible.
How do you approach a new audience knowing that you kind of have to win them over?
Oh, it is my favorite thing to do. Like,
is it?
That
sounds terrifying to me.
I know it sounds terrifying,
Yeah.
but my favorite thing is to play for people who don't know who I am. Because the more that I play, the more I find those triggers and the things that are universal. And different regions are different. You know, they all have their own moods and their own habits and tendencies. But one thing that's helped and that I enjoy doing is I find cover songs to play, and different ways to play my songs, maybe different arrangements or different length of time to play those songs. And I just, it's like fishing, and I wait to see until I get a bite. When I can get that one person who's on their phone to start looking up and be engaged, then I got a bite, you know. And so then it just becomes, how many fish can I catch?
You mentioned earlier how you went to school in Boston, originally from Mississippi. How important for your career do you think it was to move to Nashville?
It was imperative to move to Nashville. So much happens in Nashville and only there. Especially having been able to play in the session scene in Nashville. That's something that is just incredibly unique. I mean, even in the other major music cities in America, there isn't the level of session playing going on where you've got 8 people in a room making the majority of a record in 3 hours, you know. So yeah, that and then just, you know, so much great talent flocks to Nashville that you can throw a rock and hit somebody who is a world-class musician. You know?
And I feel like it's not just country. That's a big misconception. It's just a melting pot.
Right.
It's such a young city too.
It is a young city. It's really exploding right now. I just moved to East Nashville, and that entire part of town is just really blowing up right now. And you're right, there are so many cool bands of all genres that are moving to Nashville and making it work because it's doable. You know, it's affordable compared to New York or LA.
Right. Let's talk about Rubber Band.
Yeah.
It came out a little over 5.5 months ago. A little over 5 months ago.
Wow.
Took about 3 years to make.
The process started about 3 years before it came out. We started doing demo sessions of songs that I'd written with Ryan Tyndall, who produced the record with me. and we started figuring it out. Some of those songs we re-recorded 2 or 3 more times.
Yeah.
And then a few of them actually we got right, early on.
How do you think the Charlie from the beginning of that process is different from the Charlie on record release day?
I think that I'd like to think that I listened more
Mm-hmm.
at the end of having made this first record. The last session we did was at my friend Eric Massey's home studio. He built a studio behind his house. Eric's a friend from college days. It was a very important part of making this record. But I had just gotten to know Ryan when we started making the record, and Arthur, who executive produced the record. And the 4 of us, over the process of that entire album and all the different studios that we recorded in, we learned each other, learned a great deal about each other and how we operate. And I learned how to lean on those guys and rely on them. And when it came down to that last session at Eric's studio, we got Love Don't Die Easy and Tools of the Trade, and we added some stuff to a song called Someone Like Me. And it was just so laid back and so easygoing, and the process was so much smoother than it had been at first.
Do you find it hard to kind of give up control in that setting? 'Cause
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, it is
The hardest
your
thing
record.
for me
Yeah.
has been to learn to give up control and to trust. I'm a very hands-on and very sort of controlling type of person when it comes to creative matters, and there's a time for that. The cover challenges I do are actually a great time for that, because it's my chance to just go crazy.
Right.
But I now sort of I lean a lot more heavily on others, and I'm very on or off switch with control too. I've learned that there are certain things that I don't want or need to know a thing about, and I know the person that works with me and does that is extremely trustworthy and will do it much better than I could. And so if I give up control, sometimes I just completely let it go.
What do you think, if you had to pick a song off of Rubber Band to best represent what you hope to achieve with your music, what would it be?
The title track, Rubber Band, would be a great one to represent the entire record, because we really did step out of our comfort zones for that one, and we just had a lot of fun recording it. And it features a couple of cool sounds. One is the shitar, which is a Nashville original. It was invented in Nashville by a friend of ours. This really cool percussion instrument, and then the other, like the main guitar lick, is this old '60s Martin, which is an acoustic bluegrass style guitar that was the first nice instrument I ever owned, and I plugged that through a big old rock and roll amplifier with distortion, and achieved this sound with the string tune way down that I feel like is the most original thing I could figure out to come up with on the album.
Right. When you were around 12, you played Grand Ole Opry for the first time.
That's right.
And then even before then, you were playing a decent amount of instruments. I feel like you've accomplished a lot at a young age, and I'm like 26, and the thing I accomplished this week is like buying dog food.
Hey, I just started to accomplish laundry, so
it's
I think until you're in your 30s, it's
Yeah.
totally cool to pick and choose the parts of adult life that you want to adopt.
Yeah. Do you see any benefits of committing to music at such an early age?
I think for me, in my own personal story, music just always made sense. So it was beneficial for me to focus entirely on that. Although the few things outside of music that I do enjoy, I'm very glad that I have those, because I think it's also important to step away from things to get the right perspective. And then to add to that, I think every person's journey is different, and this is what worked great for me, but I really admire people who have a Renaissance style of life projects.
Yeah. I was reading a few of your past interviews, and it's come up a few times how you really admire Vince Gill and how initially you model yourself after him. What has the process been like in kind of carving out your own sound and really emerging as your own musician?
I think for a lot of people in my position, a big chunk of how you start out is you find those people that you want to emulate. And somewhere along the way, I wish I could tell you in words. I wish I knew how it happens, but I think it's just a sheer number of hours spent, and over time this thing it flips, and you you find whatever it is in that inspiration of your heroes that is true, that is you. And for me, you know, there were people along the way who like I took some voice lessons in college, and this lady that taught me, we really only had a handful of lessons, but she brought me years along in a matter of hours, just in terms of finding my voice and listening, you know, with really finely tuned ear for what it is in my voice that is me.
The way I feel